Hi, everyone. Today we're talking about mastering the adjustment of status interview, best practices and proven preparations. My name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group. We have a full service immigration law firm, and I'm a board certified immigration attorney. I've been practicing for 15 years, but before that, I did a lot of immigration as well. And our full service immigration law firm can help individuals anywhere in the world on U.S. immigration needs, from family to employment, investment, humanitarian, asylum, immigration court, and federal litigation as well, and non-immigrant visas. So today we're going to be talking about the adjustment of status interviews. Now, adjustment of status interview can be for an employment-based green card, family-based, humanitarian-based like asylum or U visa, for example. So it's for a lot of different things. The ones we normally go to are for marriage-based ones, because some of the other ones get waived and they just waive the interview. But sometimes they'll do spot checks and they'll have people come in. So this is really important because this is a critical step in obtaining legal permanent residency. And you want to make sure that the person is eligible. So the initial visa or basis of why a person is even eligible to apply for legal permanent residency could have already been approved. For example, the I-140, the I-130, the asylum, etc. That's generally what happens. But in some cases with the family base, they're adjudicating the I-130 and the 45 at the same time. Not always, but sometimes. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you have an unsuccessful interview, or if some information comes to light, you could be found inadmissible, requiring you to apply for a waiver, or you could be found inadmissible or ineligible altogether. And it also could lead you to immigration proceedings as well. So you really want to not take the situation lightly. If you filed this on your own, you might want to at least have a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney to make sure that you're not going to have any hiccups or problems. And we've helped people who applied on their own and we've prepped them. Maybe they go on their own, or we prep them and we attend the interview with them. So that's completely a possibility. Now, so, when they're at the interview stage, you're usually given a few weeks notice on where to go, when, where, how. And we've attended interviews all over the US. We mostly go to Houston for the most part, but we've attended them all over. And in Houston, they're at 810 Gears Road, only about 15 minutes from our office. But for the most part, you go through airport style security. You show your interview notice to get in. Airport style security. You show your seat notice, interview notice, sort of a check-in, usually at most places, and then they'll tell you either to go do biometrics or to wait for this number, etc., etc. When we attend, we make sure that we go in with the individual or the family or a couple or what have you, and we have all the documents needed. So it's important to bring those documents. So maybe you showed copies of things before, but you want to have some of those updated documents and originals to bring to show the officer, especially if they've specifically said something on their interview notice, which they usually do. So you want to have all that evidence. It's like that Murphy's Law idea where it's like you want to prepare for the toughest, hardest potential interview possible, but you're gonna visualize and manifest the best situation, which is that the evidence is already there and you just have to go through the motions, right? But so sometimes we over prepare clients, but hey, this is the opportunity, because if you don't, you could get a request for evidence, a request notice of intent to deny, a denial, and then you have to do all this over paper and take a long time. You just want to get it done, right? And get it approved. So reviewing potential interview questions and practicing responses. Look, I've gone through this process a long time ago. I petitioned for my husband. Can be intimidating. It can be scary, and you want to go in with confidence. So what we usually do is we'll do a mock interview with our clients just so that they feel comfortable with it. And it's more important, I'd say, for marriage-based green cards, or cases that have some type of potential inadmissibility issue or an inadmissibility issue that you're submitting a waiver for. So anyway, these are why it's important to review your application, or if you had filed on your own, you want to double check that everything is accurate and correct and you're not going to cause any red flags. So you want to have that confidence before going in. So some of the best practices are make sure you have your identification documents like valid passport. If you have that, they're going to want to see your entry dates, your exit dates. They love that stuff, right? That's really critical for most adjustment of status documents. Birth certificate, usually a long version if you have that. English translation, which you already submitted, very likely. So having those types of documents, marriage or divorce decree, that as applicable. Normally what I suggest is that you've already submitted this in the beginning, but what they want to do is see the actual physical document and verify that it's legit and it hasn't been doctored and it's real. So they can see with their own eyes. So that's why you bring it. Doesn't mean you have to give those to them for them to keep. You get to keep them, but that's the reason why. So some of the different forms that could be involved would be an I-130 or I-140, or if you've already been approved, the U or the asylum, you don't have those in this situation. But the I-45, which has gotten longer over the years, and so it's quite long now, lots of questions. I-94, if for most people having their lawful entry, and the I-693. So for all the green card applications, you need to have a medical exam. If you had a K1 approved abroad within, I think it's 1 year, you don't need to do another medical, but that for the most part, you're gonna need a medical. And they are requesting us to submit the sealed completed medical when we file the adjustment of status now. So where that's generally submitted now. That's gone back and forth a lot the last few years. Then all their financial or employment related documents to verify that your sponsor, if you require a sponsor, makes enough money to support you. Now some types of applications don't need those types of documents. There's one other thing I forgot to mention. It could also be adjustment for VAWA. That would require an I-360. So that's another possibility. So for the financial, you would have usually you would have taxes, employment letter verification, pay stubs, bank statements. Interview do's and don'ts. So just one quick last note is that it really just depends on what type of case you have, whether you need to have all this other financial information. Okay, so interview do's and don'ts. Well, you want to dress nice. Don't come in like holy jeans and flip-flops, out of respect. It's a federal building. It's a federal officer. This is a really big deal. And you want to be prepared. You need to make sure you understand that they're observing everything about you, including like even if you're in the interview with your spouse, are you avoiding them? Are you close to them? How do you angle your bodies towards each other? Body language, nonverbal communication are important. You want to be respectful and professional. You need to bring the translators as needed. For the most part, some offices have bilingual officers, but it's really hit or miss whether you're going to have a Spanish-speaking officer or not. So it's better to come prepared and have that translator available with the appropriate documentation and form filled out, and be prepared and make sure you have the medical exam. If you need another type of translator for other languages, make sure that you bring them and that you're prepared for that. So they're going to go over. So generally what happens is after you've gone through airport self-security, you've met with us if we're attending with you or your attorney, you go in after you're called in, and then almost the very first thing is you show your identification. You are who you say you are. Everybody in the room is the right person. And then they'll put you under oath that everything you say is true. And then they'll proceed to go through the application. And generally what they'll do is they'll say, is there anything else you want to submit today? Show me your identification documents, any additional evidence, and then they walk through the application. If the original I-140, I-130 for some reason or something along those lines hasn't been adjudicated yet, then they could do that then. And of course, this also depends on visa availability and things like that. So in most cases, the only thing I would have seen that hadn't been adjudicated might be the I-130. But if it had already been, then you're just working on the I-45. And then, have concise and accurate responses. Nobody wants to waste time unnecessarily. Just answer the question. I usually tell clients to just sort of like read the room. If the officer's super friendly and nice, then could take a note from that. But if they're just like, to the point, let's get this done, then take a point from that too, and just answer the question and move on. So it's important to address red flags and inconsistencies. You can update and edit in the moment. So let them know if you need something to be amended in the interview. So actively listening, clear communication. If you don't understand something because of accents or whatever language aspects, make sure to ask them to clarify, because what you say is being documented and put on your file, and it could come back to haunt you. So you want to make sure everything is clear. Articulating thoughts clearly, avoid ambiguity, and making sure if you're not sure what they understood, that you clarify that. Now, when we go in and we know that might be something difficult, we have different approaches about whether or not just to bring it off right away or wait to the moment, have the documentation. But that's also where attorneys can come in and help clarify things. So you want to address any inconsistencies, like if before you might have said this, but now you realize that's not true for whatever reason, and then this is the case. You want to explain that. If there's something more complex, you might need to come in with a legal memo or have the attorney explain, have that prepared. Responding to sensitive personal questions are important. Some questions they may ask about, like, let's say a relationship for marriage-based adjustment. Some of them are maybe could be considered inappropriate, but some of them are somewhere in the scope of relationship. So some you could, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, you could let them know. There's been times where we have to clarify that with a supervisor or from the officer. Not that often, but it can happen. But for the most part, you have to just go into the interview knowing what are the points I'm trying to prove, and that's the reason why they're asking these questions. So I would say that if you have something that's difficult, at a very minimum, have a consultation with an experienced immigration attorney at the very minimum. And then if you feel like you would be more safe with going in with an attorney just to have that support, then I would suggest, hey, this is important. Most people only apply one time for a green card. So I would say most people, just try to do it right, and make sure you have the best experience possible. So what we do is we do a mock interview. We go through the process when we're hired to do a prep. And honestly, just having thought through the questions, reviewing the application, you might have looked at it a year ago, 6 months ago, 4 months ago, maybe it's been a long time. So going through the application, having an understanding of what to expect just makes everything a lot smoother. The answers will come to you when you're being asked, and it'll move things along. So for the other thing to note is that in expediency and efficiency, USCIS has been waiving a lot of interviews. So, and if you get an interview, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong, but there probably is something that they're either want to spot check and make sure that it's all good. So we are reachable at rubypowerslaw.com, also 713-589-2085. We can do consultations, clients in Russian, Ukrainian, Spanish, English, Turkish, and probably some other stuff like Portuguese and French. But you can reach us all these different places on social media, add to the newsletter in English and Spanish, and we'll love to be a resource for you. We are in the Houston area predominantly, but we have contacts all over the country and have flown to and attended other interviews. And sometimes you can attend interviews by phone. It is a very case-by-case basis with USCIS offices. So again, my name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group. Feel free to stay in touch. If this is helpful, continue to subscribe, watch us, and share with a friend. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.